Don't worry. We have a thing where we fight, he loses. It's a well-established dynamic.
Welcome to Things I Fucking Hate, a series in which I look at a game that I primarily don't like and discuss the 5 main reasons why I don't like it. In this case, Crash Bandicoot 4. It's about time. You might be wondering, how could I possibly hate this incredibly successful game that almost everybody puts at least in their top 5? Well, I understand why some people love this game. It had a lot of great features like new mechanics, new characters, and pretty impressive level design. But all these great things don't really do much if the core elements that make a great Crash Bandicoot game are non-existent. So I'm gonna break down what those things are, along with a couple of other things that wouldn't essentially ruin the game, but still in my opinion are not positive. Now, just to clarify, it is important to note that this is without question the most difficult game in the franchise to complete, and especially get 100%. It's not even close. I'm not counting that as a negative by itself, but let's just say some of these issues may be affected by this game trying so desperately to be as difficult as physically possible. You'll see what I mean. That being said, here's 5 things I fucking hate about Crash Bandicoot 4. It's about time.
Big evil plan and a bigger ego does something monumentally stupid.
Playing as Cortex. This one may be a bit controversial, and the fact is I do like the new characters. Tawna is fun to use while not being all that different, and Dingodile, while being a bit slower, is definitely the most inventive. Then there's Cortex, who essentially feels like he's supposed to be puzzle-themed, with the ability to lunge forward and turn enemies into platforms. But unfortunately, the level design doesn't support this. It's okay when you're playing from the side, despite being incredibly precise, but they couldn't just stick with that, because while playing normally from a basic angle is, oddly enough, not that fun.
Shocking.
You can't double jump or move quickly in any way, aiming is very easy to mess up, and accidentally hitting the lunge button instead can result in instant death, and has no business existing while playing from a normal angle. And honestly, even playing from the side is the least fun of all the new characters. He wasn't fun to use in Twinsanity either, but I gladly take that over the abomination that Toys for Bob thought was usable. That said, let's get to something you'll probably agree was a terrible idea.
Crikey, not again!
Everything's hidden. Possibly the worst thing, depending on how you look at it, the habit of making things hard to find has not been broken. Rather expanded to a dangerously high level of complete bullshit. First off, there's the hidden gems, which sometimes give you a hint, like the red gem showing off the pattern on the wall, assuming you find it, but sometimes they don't. At all. Like with the basic hidden gem in Run It By You. First, you'll have to find the secret crate with no hint whatsoever, and then, just when you think you figured it out, you'll come to the realization you haven't, eventually look it up, and realize you have to jump on the platform located conveniently out of the camera's range. It's kinda like a leap of faith deal.
Is this a joke?
Granted, the old games occasionally did this too, but at least they give you some kind of hint. Like the nitro crate not bouncing, or a room that's way too big for no reason. Apart from one secret in Crash 3 that you probably didn't find as a kid, it's always somewhat reasonable. Besides, it's a new game, it's supposed to be innovative, fix the problems that the old games shouldn't have had. That's why they call it a new game. But at least this stuff can be easily looked up without too much hassle. You know what can't be easily looked up? The fucking boxes in almost every level. That's right, a problem that the old games hardly ever had. You'll most likely be missing multiple boxes by the end because they're hidden in retarded locations. Like in this level, in which the box is barely visible in a tire. You would think you've done it at this point, but little do you realize that there's another box that you can only get after the bonus round. And it doesn't matter anyway, because that's not even the only stupidly hidden box in this level. So, what's fun about this? Well, nothing. Nothing's fun about this at all. But like the game's difficulty itself, Toys for Bob felt Crash Bandicoot fans simply want to fail over and over again, regardless of how that failing takes place. Kinda like the B-Team's mentality while designing Dark Souls 2, in which fairness was not part of the equation. And this is where the game's difficulty becomes a problem. Because to get 100%, which is kind of the whole point in my opinion, you must complete every level without dying, and get every single box. So, when you manage to get a perfect run through a level, which is not easy, and then be told you failed anyway because you missed a box hidden off screen, well, it's the equation of soul crushing. And easily something I fucking hate.
He means you, Crash.
The story. This is the other thing that some people might not agree with, but hear me out. They pulled a Terminator Dark Fate move, because that turned out so well, and erased all the games they didn't like, making this a direct sequel to the third game. Now, offhand, I don't like most of the games not made by Naughty Dog, apart from Twinsanity, which is still very flawed, but still, I don't see the point in this. The storyline is not the most important thing about a platforming game, and Twinsanity, if anything, had the most interesting and entertaining story of any game in the franchise, so removing it doesn't really accomplish anything. Apart from starting off directly where Crash 3 left off, but was that really needed? Not to mention, it does very little to stand out, apart from joking about the fact that it always ends the same way, which kind of contradicts the whole idea of removing most of the games. It's like it was just fan service. Kinda like Tawna and Dingodile. Yeah, they're fun to play as, but story-wise, Dingodile does nothing and Tawna has a plot that goes nowhere. So why they do the whole different dimension thing? It's literally pointless.
Positively shocking.
But I do have a theory. Just a theory to why they made this game a direct sequel. In this game, Crash teams up with Cortex to stop Tropy, who briefly becomes the main bad guy along with female Tropy, and after that's done, Cortex betrays Crash, tries to prevent his existence, and is inevitably stopped. And almost everything I just mentioned happens in Twinsanity. Granted, it was done a lot different, and in my opinion a lot better, because that game was pretty damn funny, but the fact is, It's About Time's story did very little new stuff. Even the whole masked thing feels a lot like the original fourth game, being The Wrath of Cortex. I know it's obviously a lot different than being bad guys in that game, but it just doesn't feel that original. Oxide's there for the sake of fan service, the ending's pretty forgettable, and I wouldn't give a shit about the story in a platforming game if not for the fact that it's a direct sequel. You removed all the other games, one of which had a plot that I liked, and essentially did nothing to justify it apart from stealing elements from that game.
You didn't earn the knowledge for yourselves, so you don't take any responsibility.
Definitely not the worst thing, but this is things I fucking hate, so it fits in quite nicely.
Barf.
Time Relics. I haven't mentioned this yet, but I am not a fan of the Insane Trilogy. This is for a number of reasons, mostly mechanic-based, but one of the main problems was the fact that adding time relics to all three games didn't work out that good since the first game wasn't really suited for that kind of thing. It wasn't completely their fault, it's just the way those games were designed. So obviously, Toys for Bob would realize this and not make the same mistake.
Are you out of your fucking mind?
Right. There's no way the relics could function in this game due to the extreme difficulty. Just like they couldn't function in Crash 1. This was expected. What wasn't expected is what they did to quote-unquote improve the experience. So far, every game in the franchise, including the insane edition of Crash 2, gives you running shoes, which you'll need in order to obtain a platinum relic. You don't have to do it, it doesn't affect your percentage, but if you pull it off, you feel pretty damn satisfied. Instead, this game gives you something similar to a tornado spin move and expects you to use that.
Are you out of your fucking mind?
They could have just not had the running shoes at all and just made the platinum times possible without them. That's what the insane version of Crash 1 did. But then again, the mentality behind this game is that failing is fun. Oh, I fucking hate this game.
Must we keep going around and around like this? Tell me, Crash, is this all there is? Forever?
Inverted mode. And now the thing that only a complete fucked-in-the-head fanboy could like, the fucking inverted mode. I mean, the inverted mode's fine, Nitro Fuel did it, I liked it there, but in this game they said fuck it, let's make it so once you unlock it, it becomes a requirement for 100% completion. Now, what that means is that every level, including bosses, must be completed twice. With the exception of Relics, every fucking thing has to be done twice for full completion.
That's fucking stupid!
Does Toys for Bob realize that full completion shouldn't be a tedious fucking nightmare? If you can overcome the challenge, the extreme difficulty of this game, that should be enough. You shouldn't have to find boxes you can't see, you shouldn't have to obtain relics with a fucking spin move, and you undoubtedly shouldn't have to do everything 2 fucking times. Why would anybody go back to this game? You can't possibly enjoy this shit. Maybe you like casually playing. Maybe that's fine, I guess, but what about the real fans who actually played the old games, have fond memories, enjoy collecting stuff to get full completion? Who didn't just want to do it once to say they did it? You know, IGN, who I don't like, once said that Toys for Bob gets Spyro. Well, I'll tell you this, they sure as shit don't get Crash Bandicoot. The final thing I fucking hate not only ruins this game, but it would ruin any game that fucking tried it. And that is 5 things I fucking hate about Crash Bandicoot 4 It's About Time, a game that I truly fucking hate. If you don't agree, that's fine. Just let me know in the comments why that is, and I'll be sure to get back to you. I'm the Game Analyst, and don't forget, you don't need ideas, just find some you like and pretend they don't exist. No one's gonna notice.
Peace at last.